Hi guys, so today I want to talk a bit about aphids. We all have them, we all experience them, so I want to talk about how we can get rid of them. So last time I was in my plant room and I was watering my plants, I looked over at my plants and I found tons and tons of aphids, specifically on one of my trays. And for that tray was planted at the time for several weeks, and every day I would go down there and look at it and see that as the plants are sprouting, they're yellow and they're like almost like life was sucked out of them, and they weren't growing. So, but those were eggplants and peppers and tomatillos. So I thought maybe these plants just need a little longer to grow because they need warmer weather, and the plants are downstairs in the basement, so it's a little cooler. So I just kind of chugged it off to that. But a few weeks later, I go down there and I look at the same plants and they're like stunted. They're not growing and they're super yellow. They're doing much worse than before. And I look very closely and I see aphids. Aphids everywhere. And I was terrified. I shrieked. I examined all of my plants down there, just checked every one of them to make sure that there are no aphids on anything else, because I have tons of trays down there. And I sprayed everything with a mixture of hydrogen peroxide and water, hoping that if there is anything that I didn't see, that would take care of it. So I took these plants and I put them in my kitchen in front of the window. I separated them from each other. There were two trays that were specifically just infested with aphids, and the most tray that was infested was the one that, like I said, it was the eggplants and the peppers and tomatillos. This tray had these plants in it, and the most plants that were affected in that tray were the eggplants, because their leaf is super clingy, kind of. It's almost like Velcro texture. It doesn't cling onto your clothes, but it does have this texture to it. So the aphids go on the top of the leaves and on the bottom of the leaves, and they're just like covering those plants everywhere. And so I took these plants, separated them in my kitchen. I used several methods to get rid of those aphids. I still have some aphids on those plants, and today I'm going to be showing you what I did and what I'm going to be doing again to hopefully completely get rid of the aphids. But before I continue, I just want to talk a little bit about aphids. Aphids are soft-bodied insects. They can come in green and like a yellowish color and like a fluorescent or lime green color. They can also be black, and sometimes they can develop their wings and can fly. They always have the possibility. They have, like, their wings are dormant until some time in their life cycle. They decide, okay, I need wings, and they develop the wings and fly. I'm not sure why. Maybe that's just because the food sources are scarce, or maybe they ate something that made them develop their wings. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. I didn't read anything specific about that, but in the paper that I was reading, they were also mentioning that aphids can begin to multiply at the age of 10 days. So the life cycle, basically, from a larva to an adult, is 10 days, and after the 10 days you end up with lots of larvae. And also the aphid, as they grow, they begin to shed their skin, so you will see a lot of like white little papery things on your plants, and those are the scales of the aphids. And also they will leave a sap, which is called honeydew, because they secrete, is that how you say it? Gotta Google that. A substance, while they suck the sap out of the plants, they emit this substance called honeydew, and that honeydew, if there are no ants that are eating it, it covers the plants and creates this kind of like shiny cover on it. And also that honeydew sometimes can create like a black surface to cover the plant and the leaves of the plant, and it stops the plant from absorbing the energy from the sunlight. Also, aphids can be present on all parts of the plant, the stems, the leaves, especially the newly the leaves that are being freshly developed, like in the center of the plant. If you open it carefully, and you'll see aphids in there. Also, in the dirt also. And aphid larvae or aphid eggs can lay dormant for a long time, many months, and I could be mistaken, but maybe even years, I'm not sure, inside the dirt, and then they would hatch out when the temperatures are perfect for them to hatch. And I think that's what happened, because I put my pepper and eggplant trays on the heating mat so that they could sprout quickly, because they do need the heat in order to sprout, because my basement is a little bit cold for them to sprout. So I use the heating mat, and I think where the aphids came from is from the soil. And I was interrupted, I don't know what I was saying. I think yeah, I was talking about the soil. I think I bought the seed starting mix, and I was, I talked about this before, and I suspected, they do actually sterilize seed starting mixes, but that's not the case, because the aphids had to come from somewhere, and I'm suspecting that it was the seed starting mix. And I think that they just, again, the temperature was perfect for them to sprout, because that was the only tray where they actually developed on, because it was the tray that was like covered with aphids. Now the other tray that I'm battling with aphids with it as well had a lot less aphids on it, so I'm thinking that the aphids must have jumped over to that tray because they were super close to each other. Maybe the leaves were touching and they just kind of crawled over to that side. Anyways, so now let's talk about, I hope I'm not forgetting anything about any important information about aphids. Oh yes, one more important thing about aphids to know is that that substance that they leave on your plants, and also because they make your plants weak, because they suck the sap out of them, and because they stop them from absorbing the sunlight and taking in that energy, what happens is that your plants become susceptible to mold and mildew and disease and like all sorts of funguses. And so you really want to get rid of the problem before it becomes a huge infestation. And I will show you right now the different methods that I used to get rid of the aphids, and I'll show you the next method that I'm going to be using in order to hopefully eradicate the aphids. So I can tell already that the plants are doing much better right now than they used to, but when I first discovered this problem, I have also fertilized them to help them to get healthier and bigger. I do fertilize my plants once a week. So the first thing that I did was that I sprayed them with a mixture of neem oil, hydrogen peroxide, and soap. I put about maybe half a teaspoon of neem oil in about a liter of water, and I also put about a teaspoon of soap, which is dish detergent. And for the water, I actually mixed the hydrogen peroxide in a gallon of water that I use on my plants, and I use that water. So I probably put about a tablespoon of hydrogen peroxide, if I do remember, I'm not sure, but I think you can up it a little bit when you have something like that to get rid of these insects. And I think the first time I used it, I thought I didn't see much change, but I'm pretty sure there was, that the bugs were, a lot of them were killed. But I think aphids just multiply so quickly, and there are so many of them. They're over the leaves, they're under the leaves, so you're definitely going to miss some. So I sprayed them every day, twice a day, for like the whole week. And then after that, well, not the whole week, until that liter bottle was empty. And after that, I took the plants and I tilted them like that, and I took the faucet in my sink with the attachment that has the sprayer attachment, and I just rinsed them with cold water to spray. I see some aphids very little though, to spray the aphids and just have them come off the plants into the sink and just get into the septic system. And that got rid of a lot of the plants. The next thing I did was I took a tissue and I wet it, and then I would put it on the plant and wipe the plant with the tissue, the top and the back, and I did that for like several days, and it would just, the wet tissue or paper towel would just like pick up the aphids super easily, and I picked up most of the aphids that were left that way. I still have a few right now, so let me give you a close-up to show you what it would be like to pick up those aphids. It's super successful method, but it's tedious. So if I can find some, I've seen them on top of the peppers, of the pepper leaves, and underneath the tomatillos. I think the tomatillos are free. I don't see any on the tomatillos, but I do see them especially in the curled parts of the pepper plants. I see some right here. And I just take it and wipe the plant with it. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but here I picked up an aphid. Can you guys see it? I don't have a lot left. Oh, here's some. Look at that. So I'm almost done with the aphid problem. So now let me show you the next thing that I'm gonna do to hopefully get rid of these aphids completely. But before we continue, I just want to mention the reason why these plants look a little stretched out like that is because I did put them in front of my kitchen window and I took them away from the lights, so they ended up stretching out a little bit. They still look pretty healthy, I think. Well, they're a little stretched out, that's all. And I also wanted to pot them up, but I couldn't because of the aphid problem. I didn't want to spread the aphid problem everywhere, because once you pot them up, now you have like a lot more surface area to cover and a lot more dirt, so they could just hide everywhere. So that's why the plants look that way. So now let's talk about the next thing that I'm gonna do to attack the aphids again. So I have this sprayer right here, and this is a special sprayer to spray like powder on your plants or on anything, and inside it opens up right here. I don't want to open it right now because I don't want the dust to go everywhere, but it opens up right here, and inside it you can put about a pound of diatomaceous earth, and diatomaceous earth is really fine. Actually, let me just open it so that I can show you guys. There we go. You can see this stuff is organic. I think it's like ground up seashells and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure what else is in it, but I should probably do research on that. I forgot. I used to know. Anyways, it's organic stuff. You can also feed it to your animals, and you can eat it yourself if it's made, you know, food grade, of course. I've never done it myself. I don't advise you to do it unless your doctor says you should. Please follow the advice of your doctor. I'm not a doctor. There's a disclaimer. So this is a pump, basically. You have this part right here, and when you pull it out, it's going to pull apart right here, and actually it's going to suck some air in, and then once you pull it back, push it back in, it's going to push that air out through this hole right here, and this hole is going to spread the dust everywhere. So you can see this is like a fan shape to help the dust spread out in that formation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thingamajig, and I'm going to spray the plants with it everywhere. The leaves, on top of the leaves, underneath the leaves. and the dirt as well, because I want to make sure that all the surfaces are covered. And one more important thing to mention about diatomaceous earth is that it is only active when it's not wet. The way how it works is that it is super, it dries out the bugs and the exoskeleton of the bugs, and they start to basically just like break up and die and bleed, and that's how it works. So it's a pretty gruesome way, but we need to kill these aphids. I can't live with them, and they're gonna create a problem all over my garden. I don't want that. Neither should you. Okay, so let's spray these aphids now. Woo! That's a lot of diatomaceous earth. Ugh.
You should wear a gas mask.
I know.
It sounds like a mouse sneezing.
Woo! So I'm all covered up with diatomaceous earth right now. I sprayed them a whole lot. They're covered everywhere, and hopefully the aphids will not survive this disastrous explosion. Hopefully I will survive this disastrous explosion. Well, I would advise you to wear a mask when you are doing this. I did not. It's very dusty and it can enter into your lungs, and if it does that to the aphids, I can only imagine what it's going to do to my lungs. So I'm going to try not to think about that so much. Anyways, now this dust is obviously blocking the light from coming onto the plants. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it the way how it is just for today, and then the next day I'm just going to knock it off a little bit. I'm not going to spray it with any water or anything, and just keep it there for the whole week like that. After, of course, after the second day I will be knocking the excess dust off, and then keep it that way for the whole week, and hopefully that will get rid of all the aphids that are there, and maybe for even 2 weeks. And then after that, if I see any more aphids, I'll probably want to rinse it after that, after the 2 weeks. And then after that, if I see any aphids, I will probably spray again with some neem oil, and I'm gonna do a little bit extra of the hydrogen peroxide. And hydrogen peroxide kills bacteria, and so I assume it's gonna harm the plants. You're not supposed to leave it on your skin for too long, so I'm hoping this not the plants harm the harm the aphids. And I know you're not supposed to leave it on your skin for too long, although they do use it on our wounds, so I don't know. I think it can only help, and the soap just helps to bind the oil with the water, just to and helps it stick to the plants. So when you do add neem oil, you want to add a little bit of soap just to help the oil stick to the plants. And you want to use several methods, because there are several life stages of the aphid, and you want to try to attack all of those life stages. And the aphids can be super small that you can totally miss them. And I don't know if you saw, but when I wiped it with a tissue, you can see like all different sizes of aphids, and I'm pretty sure there are aphids that were there that I wasn't able to see with my naked eye. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and I hope you learned something new. And if you want more gardening related videos, I will be leaving a video link over here of something that I did. I'm not sure what it's gonna be, but I just want to say thank you. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I ask you to subscribe. And we do a lot of these videos over here about gardening, self-sufficiency, and from scratch gluten-free cooking. And I hope you stick around, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.